This story didn't start with a highlight reel or a viral clip. It began in a tense boardroom with a moment that would shake the world of women's basketball. Caitlin Clark, the generational talent who turned the sport into a mainstream sensation herself, staring across the table at WNBA executives, and what she saw changed everything. The sense of betrayal was unmistakable. What was said behind those closed doors hasn't been revealed, but its ripple effects are being felt across the sports landscape. Clark didn't enter that meeting planning to walk away from the league she helped elevate, yet she left with every reason to reconsider. Now, the WNBA faces perhaps its most critical challenge yet. Because Clark isn't just a player, she's a force whose decisions could reshape the future of the game. Caitlin Clark is more than a player, she's a revolution in motion. From breaking records in college to igniting the league with her electrifying pro debut, she has redefined what women's basketball means to millions. But behind the highlight reels and roaring crowds, a darker reality is emerging. During that fateful meeting, something shifted. Clark saw that her loyalty, her sacrifices, and her star power were being treated like leverage in a business deal. And in that instant, a question surfaced. What if I walked away? This wasn't a flare-up of ego or frustration. It was a stark realization. She's being asked to carry the league without the support she deserves. When the promises made at the top crumble, even icons start to rethink their legacy. If Clark does leave, the consequences would go far beyond individual games or viewership dips. The WNBA's very foundation could tremble. The commercial empire, built on her talent, could falter almost overnight. Yet she hasn't made that decision. Clark now stands at a crossroads, facing choices that feel impossible, yet carry the power to reshape the future of the league itself. Every choice Clark makes carries weight far beyond the court. Millions of fans are pleading for her to stay, but she knows that staying could mean compromising her worth, her well-being, and the principles she stands for. And that is what makes this story so haunting. For all her record-breaking success, Caitlin Clark now faces a question every superstar fears. When those at the top stop protecting you, do you stay and fight or walk away and let your absence be felt? Her numbers tell a story of sheer dominance. Nearly 20 points a game, 8 assists, and 6 rebounds on average. Clark isn't just playing, she's redefining excellence in real time. Her rookie season with the Indiana Fever was supposed to be about learning the ropes. Instead, it became a national spectacle, turning a struggling franchise into a contender. The Fever, once overlooked, are now in playoff contention because of her presence. But the numbers only tell part of the story. They don't show the exhaustion in her eyes, or the nights she carries, not just her team, but the entire league on her shoulders. The spotlight only grows brighter and hotter with each passing week. Every missed shot sparks headlines. Every injury scare trends worldwide. Clark has become both a hero and a target, and that pressure is taking its toll. She can't just play anymore, she has to deliver, night after night. Even legends like LeBron James or Michael Jordan didn't face this kind of scrutiny in their rookie seasons. Clark is navigating all of it while dealing with locker room dynamics, league bureaucracy, and the relentless weight of being the face of women's basketball. This isn't just sports anymore. It's a high-stakes mix of politics, branding, and crisis management, all on a 22-year-old's shoulders. And through it all, her stats remain historic. The impact is undeniable, but the toll is invisible. And it's that hidden weight that has pushed Clark to a breaking point. Greatness should never demand the sacrifice of peace. Yet the higher she rises, the lonelier it becomes. The WNBA has given her a platform, but it's also boxed her into a corner, and that a corner might be what drives her away. Then there's the money and the glaring disparity. Caitlin Clark, a once-in-a-generation talent generating millions for the league, earns a salary of around $230,000. Meanwhile, her market value is in the millions every year. This isn't just unfair, it's exploitation, cloaked in league policy. She fills arenas, shatters viewership records, and attracts corporate sponsors eager to attach their names to the WNBA. Yet her paycheck barely scratches the surface of her true worth in almost any other field. This gap would spark legal action. In the WNBA, these are the rules written long before Clark redefined what women's basketball could be. The gap between her value and her pay isn't just unfair, it's a crisis at the heart of the league. How can you expect someone to carry your organization when you won't even compensate them fairly? That question has gone unanswered for far too long. Now, Caitlin Clark is asking it louder than anyone ever has. And that's what makes this moment so explosive. If the league doesn't act fast, it won't just risk losing Clark, it could lose the next generation of stars who see that their paycheck doesn't reflect their impact. This isn't about one player, it's about a system stretched to its breaking point, with cracks growing wider by the day. And Clark isn't free to make her next move, yet her rookie contract binds her to Indiana for years, keeping her decisions and the league's reckoning tightly intertwined. Thanks to restrictive clauses, team options, and a collective bargaining agreement that's now embarrassingly outdated, Clark is trapped. While NBA stars can restructure deals, command trades, or leverage their value, she's locked into a contract that undervalues her and blocks her from exploring better opportunities. She's a superstar in a cage. This isn't freedom, it's corporate control disguised as standard procedure. Despite her massive impact, Clark finds herself staring at walls instead of open doors. The system wasn't built for a player like her, it was designed to maintain control over athletes who were never meant to outgrow the league itself. Now, her very presence is exposing the cracks in that system. Legal experts are paying attention, and the whispers are growing louder. Could the WNBA be facing a lawsuit from its own star? When one player generates more value than entire franchises, yet has no mobility. It isn't just unfair, it's unsustainable. The league can't keep pretending this is normal, not when the world is watching. Not when fans see their favorite player suffocated by red tape, and not when Clark is clearly reaching a point where silence is no longer an option. If she decides to speak, truly speak, it won't be subtle, it will be subtle. Now, here's the part few want to admit. Caitlin Clark has real options. Leagues across Europe, Australia, and Asia are ready to offer contracts that make the WNBA's deals look tiny. We're talking six-figure salaries, tax-free perks, luxury accommodations, and far less pressure. Abroad, she wouldn't be a pawn, she'd be a queen. International teams have scouted her for years, and now they see an opening. If Clark decides to walk away from the WNBA, there will be no shortage of suitors eager to give her the recognition and the pay she deserves. These leagues aren't just more lucrative. They're often more respectful of players as whole people. No daily media circus, no broken promises, just basketball. For someone like Clark, that is starting to sound like freedom. She's already built her brand. She doesn't need the WNBA to stay relevant. If anything, the league needs her more than it's willing to admit. Imagine the headlines. Caitlin Clark signs in Spain. Clark leaves for better pay in Turkey. Australia lands a global superstar. These aren't hypotheticals, they're real possibilities. And for the WNBA, losing her wouldn't just be a player. Leaving a team, it would be a seismic blow to the league itself. Sometimes, the only way to save something is to walk away. But here's the twist that could make Caitlin Clark's story legendary. She doesn't even need basketball anymore, not for money, not for relevance, not to be remembered. She's already transcended the game. At this point, basketball is just one platform she can dominate. If the WNBA continues to treat her as replaceable, she might prove them right by leaving and thriving anyway. Clark is already a brand, a movement, a global household name. Networks would fight for her broadcasting rights, streaming platforms would offer seven-figure deals for her own show. She could turn her insight, charisma, and fanbase into a media empire overnight without ever stepping back on the court. Memoirs, podcasts, player-run media companies like LeBron's, collaborations with ESPN, Netflix, Amazon, one would welcome her call. Caitlin Clark isn't just a player. She's a storyteller, a disruptor, a cultural force. Right now, she's deciding whether to wield that voice within the system or to leave it in flames. Her influence off the court could rival or even surpass her dominance on it. With her knowledge, business savvy, and communication skills, she could reshape how women's sports are covered, marketed, and valued. She could become the ultimate face of athlete empowerment, setting a blueprint for every sport, not just basketball. And that might be her most formidable move yet, because the WNBA can bench a player, but it cannot silence a mogul. Of course, there's another path, one that keeps her connected to the game, but in a way the league might not anticipate: coaching, mentoring, or leadership in the front office. Clark has the basketball IQ of a seasoned veteran and the presence of a head coach in waiting. She could guide the next generation of talent, teaching players how to navigate the system she spent her career challenging. Imagine Caitlin Clark leading a college team to a national title, not as a player, but as the youngest coach in NCAA history. Picture her taking the helm of a struggling WNBA franchise and rebuilding it from the front office out. Her legacy wouldn't just be measured in points or rebounds, it would be about lives changed, systems reformed, and culture redefined. And while she's doing that, she could still be cashing major endorsements from Nike, Gatorade, and her own ventures. She could launch a youth development network designed to cultivate not just athletes, but leaders. Kids wouldn't just wear her jersey, they'd be attending Clark Academy. She wouldn't just change the game, she'd change the industry. But here's the hardest truth. Maybe Clark doesn't want to save the WNBA anymore. Maybe she's done fighting to fix a system that never fully protected her. Maybe she's looking at a world of opportunities and realizing she doesn't need to fight to be accepted. She can build something entirely new. For Caitlin Clark, the question isn't whether she has options. The question is which path she'll take to make history next. And at the center of this storm of decisions lies a stark reality. The WNBA failed to evolve quickly enough to keep up with its own prodigy. Future stars are watching. Angel Reese, Paige Buchers, Juju Watkins. Every rising phenom is learning a hard lesson about how the league treats its top talent. If the takeaway is that excellence equals exploitation, the WNBA risks losing more than Clark they could lose. A generation, sponsors will hesitate, networks will renegotiate, and fans will ask the question no league wants to hear. Why should I care? You can't build a dynasty on borrowed loyalty. You certainly can't keep a queen in a cage. Now, we wait, we watch. We wonder, will Clark stay and fight for change from within, or walk and force the system to reform in her absence? Either way, one thing is clear. The future of women's basketball is being rewritten, and it's being written in Caitlin Clark's handwriting. The WNBA had a once-in-a-generation gift handed to them, and now they risk watching it walk out the door. Picture the headlines. Caitlin Clark signs in Spain. Clark leaves WNBA for better pay in Turkey. The internet would explode. The league would scramble, realizing it just lost the heartbeat of its empire. And once Clark opens that door, she won't be the last one to walk through it. But here's the kicker. Clark doesn't even need basketball anymore. She could quit tomorrow and still be a millionaire by Christmas. Broadcasting deals, podcasts, endorsement empires, tech startups, the world is hers if she wants it. She's smart, articulate, marketable. She doesn't need to dribble a ball. To stay relevant, stepping away might make her even more powerful. Imagine it. The biggest name in women's basketball leaves at her peak not because she can't play, but because she won't play under broken conditions. Headlines would dominate. For months, every league, every sponsor, every decision-maker would be forced to rethink how they treat their stars. Clark could launch youth programs, start a media company, run training camps, or become the face of women's sports innovation for the next decade without ever stepping on a WNBA court again. And that's the real threat, not to her, but to the league. For Caitlin Clark, the exit strategy already exists. All she has to do is walk through it. And maybe, just maybe, that's exactly what the WNBA fears.